Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Prodigy. I'm your host, Caliban, and if you believe in Starfleet, clap your hands! Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. How you doing?
I'm great. It's good to be here.
Yeah.
I am, as of yesterday, I am a crisp quarter century.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
What an achievement. And you're spending it behind bars, it seems like.
I am in jail.
No regrets.
Exactly. No, I am. It is almost the holiday known as Christmas.
Yes.
Thank you. Happy birthday in the chat. Thank you, Mika. And the weather here in Minnesota is supposed to be very bad today and tomorrow.
It is frightful. Yeah.
Yeah. So I canceled my birthday plans yesterday, came up, had dinner with my parents and my grandma, my great aunt. So really what I did was I made birthday plans.
Yeah.
Those were the birthday plans.
Okay.
Because Joanne and Marcy, they're the stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good week so far.
Well, that's
How
great.
about you?
Pretty good. Kind of trying to, as the holidays get closer and the work starts to fall off, getting ready to, getting back into celebration head and family and Christmas head. So, getting into that. But I've got some good news. It's a very Merry Christmas here because I am the recipient of a large tranche of Star Trek figures that I thought that I would share with you and with the chat.
Let's go.
I got 20 figures. We'll just go through a couple of them today. Maybe we can do this on subsequent shows. But yeah, some brand new in-box Star Trek figures. I've got Q. I've got uniformed Q. John Delancey himself. That's some sign bait, if I ever see him at a con. Moving on here, I've got Ferengi, but hold on. This is original Laser Whip appearance Ferengi. What could have been with the caveman Ferengi, the Prophet taking Pirates of the Universe. Here's another one. This is actually one that I already have, but now I've got two. So this is Edith Keeler. So I've got one pristine. This one I can throw under a bus where she belongs. For the future of humanity. I've also got one of the Tolosians, a Tolosian keeper.
You got like a haul.
Oh yeah, there's so many more. There's so many more. This doesn't even scratch the surface. And from all different shows too. And last but not least, I have an Andorian, little foxing in the corner of the box there. But Andorian figure.
Then it's worthless.
Now I'm trying to figure out from the costume here, is this an Andorian or is this an assassin who is pretending to be an Andorian, as we remember from Journey to Babel? Or is it Babel? So
I don't know.
No way to get those up on the wall. Not nearly enough spots, but maybe we can swap them in and out as we continue on the program here.
So did somebody I'm guessing it wasn't a holiday gift. It was just like somebody had a box and they were like, "Hey, you like the Star Wars Trek show?"
Yeah, I get a lot of that.
And they were like, "You take these?"
Yeah. So,
Me too.
So that's what it's for, and I appreciate them. And like I said, we'll be looking at some more of them in the future. But let's talk about what we're supposed to look at tonight, which is the 19th episode of the first season of Star Trek Prodigy. It's an episode called Supernova Part 1, and we're here to talk all about it. But first, as always, a warning. We are setting a course for the spoiler zone listeners, so be warned. We're glad that you've decided to join us, but if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers are incoming. The official synopsis for Supernova Part 1 is, surrounded by the Federation Armada, the crew attempts to stop their ship from destroying all of Starfleet. The episode was written by Aaron McNamara and directed by Andrew Schmidt. No star date for the episode, but of course it follows directly on from the last episode. One note, just a character note of continuity. We see a character in this episode who claims to is, I suppose, one of the Brennari, which were a race of telepathic aliens that the Voyager sort of squirreled away and franked away to keep away from the from the Devore who were hunting them in the Voyager episode Counterpoint. So fun bit of continuity there. And, we've talked before, we've talked in years past recently about how Voyager has really seen a resurgence, I think, in fandom, both because the fans of that generation, I'm going to say they're millennials, but they could be, I suppose, any age, have come into their own, come into their majority, and are appreciating it. And so that's, why we're getting a Janeway show. That's why we're getting mentions of these things. And I think it's great to see that kind of get, enshrined in canon as we know it. I mean, it's always been canon, but like to see the nostalgic vibes of it is really great. I'm still waiting for the Enterprise train to come back around. And then, of course, we can pitch forward to the future and think about, the Discovery train coming back around in another 20 years. Whatever Star Trek's doing then, we'll be bringing some of those characters back. So that's really great to see. Really obscure reference, but fun way to make it directly connect to the story, and that this person goes, you know what? I know you're a good person. I'm only here because you were a good person. So that was a really neat touch, I thought.
And a little bit of a tearjerker.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
got a little misty.
Yeah, right. It's a little dusty in this brig down here in the ship. Well, let's
something in my eye in the basement.
Let's talk about the episode itself. What'd you think about the episode, Supernova Part 1?
I liked it. I thought it was awesome. I feel like the 2-part finale is becoming more and more popular.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a great Part 1 to a finale. I was, as with a couple of episodes in the second part of this season, I thought it was very serious for a kids show. The fight scene, the way our bestie, the off-brand General Grievous, like turned into like a spider humanoid thing with the like Doc Ock things.
Yeah.
I was like, if I was a kid, I think that would scare me.
Yeah.
I think I would be afraid. But sometimes life is scary, and the kids, they should learn. They should learn early.
Yeah.
Right. Not to trust authority.
Right. And I appreciated and enjoyed the way that, good comic guy, here's a comic reference. A lot of times the X-Men will fight a villain, be it a singular villain or another group of villains. And that first fight will go badly because they're not working together. Their powers are all specifically nullified by somebody else's powers or abilities. But then when that second fight comes back around, then the X-Men, are ready. They know what to do. And they, use their powers and their cooperation to defeat the foe. And I like the fact that we see our characters hit kind of their lowest point, but then they use their cooperation to get out of all the jams that they're in. And they're like, all right, this is, now we're going to do it again. Now it's my turn. Yeah. So I thought that was really neat. I liked what you said about it being a 2-part finale, but I like that Prodigy is still doing it in its own idiom, in that this is clearly going to be connected to next week's episode as a 2-part finale, but it's still sort of giving itself its own close, and then also out of that closure, creating a cliffhanger that will then go to the next episode. So it's still kind of a self-contained episode on its own. And I thought the emotional resolution of the episode was really great in having, the construct go off. It's bad news. It's going to cause trouble. But specifically having the characters appeal to the non-Federation allies that they have to, ask them to provide assistance. And it's that thing where, we've seen this in recent Star Trek shows a lot, where we're in trouble, but we're Starfleet and we can do it. And this is kind of them saying, like, we're not Starfleet, but we believe that Starfleet is something worth saving, so we can't do it. Can you help us do this? We've helped you. We'd appreciate it if you help us. And people show up. Although they're never going to live this down. The Klingons are going to talk about this forever. Remember when we had to come in and we had to do the thing? And yeah, you're never going to get out of that one.
Also, who else besides the Klingons, when listening to Gwyn talk, I was like, is she really saying that they should just put their ships between the Starfleet ships and take the phasers?
Yeah.
And the Klingons came in, and I was like, oh yeah, she literally meant take the fire.
Yeah.
And who else would? I was kind of an insane request. And who else besides the Klingons to be like, hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the Vulcans showed up. The Ferengi and the Gorn showed up
Shocked,
too.
Though. Very surprising.
Yeah. So again, we're getting like this telephone game of like what the future is like, post Voyager. We still haven't really had a show that's decided to show us all that. But apparently, yeah, the Ferengi are a lot closer to the Federation at this point. The Gorn are in some kind of alliance with the Federation at this point, and so that's a very hopeful thing. If they could just get over their hatred of augments, then we'd really be getting somewhere. We were watching this, and my girlfriend made the point that she's like, he's going to get in. Dal is going to be the first augment Starfleet officer, and he will be sort of the the first person that people go, okay, they're fine, they're all right. Purple guy, no problem.
I think for sure. Like I mean, maybe a couple seasons from now, but I would be surprised if that's not where we're headed. I mean, maybe because again, another good lesson to learn besides the whole teamwork. Besides the whole teamwork lesson, is like sometimes your goals don't work out. So I think it would be a good decision either way for the show, for like Dal to not be in the academy, or for like him to be the first one.
Get used to it, kids. Like, disappointment. It's a real thing.
So it's okay. Sometimes things don't work out.
Sure. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. I also like that they are still pursuing this quest. And instead of, we've talked about how, I don't know if it's because it's a show for younger viewers or if it's just the way they want to do things, but we'll set something off and up and we'll get a payoff pretty soon. But them achieving this goal of like reaching Starfleet to realize their ambitions has become a longer term goal for them. And even in this episode, it's kind of once again sort of yanked out of reach. And Dal's character moment is kind of like, it's permanently out of reach. As far as he knows, there is no remedy for this. And that motivates him to say, no, give me the gun. I'm going to do this thing because that's all we've got. So that's interesting. Like I said, and I agree with you and my girlfriend, I hope that that turns around for him. Do you see, skipping ahead just for a second, what do you see happening like in the finale? What do you see happening in the second season? Do you think that this will wrap up with notes of disappointment, but wrap up mostly cleanly, and then we will possibly jump forward to seeing them in Starfleet in the second season?
I mean, we need another cliffhanger, right? So I'd be surprised
at the end of this season after 20 episodes. Yeah. Okay. You're addicted to cliffhangers.
Don't you think? I mean, a season finale.
Jellicoe's like, good job. You can't join Starfleet. I'm an asshole. I'm Jellicoe. That's why they brought me in.
Jail. Yeah.
They brought me in specifically to tell kids no.
Because they got to hook you into the next season. You know what I mean? So like, there's gonna be maybe it'll be a happy cliffhanger. Maybe they'll be like, and now we're on our way to Earth.
Do we think that this is it for our diviner? Because Obi-Wan Kenobi's at the end of this thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Thanos snap. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's got to be dead, right? Where else? Where? I guess we don't know anything. But I was like, where are we going with the Voldemort bit?
I don't know. There's so much that we don't know about the.
Well, that's the thing.
Solanians. And they glow. That not often, but they're glowing now. You glow. You're a glower. I don't really know what's going on with that. Essentia, if this is her just flying away and then we don't see her again, I mean, she'll still be out there, I guess. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely all the loose ends are not tied up in any way.
I mean, we've got to have Chakotay next episode, right?
Oh, well, you'd think so. Oh, maybe season 2 is the quest for Chakotay.
After all, I mean, after everything, I was going to say they've got to talk to Janeway actually face to face.
Yeah.
Right, and not the whole the bit. I loved the bit, but now I'm ready for her. I want her little feet on the protostar,
Yeah. They did a great job of introducing something very very threatening and disconcerting, and then kind of wrapping it up in this episode, and then going, oh, just kidding, it's back. I don't think there's any way that they could go to the future, save Chakotay, come back, in one episode. That's going to have to be farther down the road, I would think. But yeah, I don't know. This show's efficient. It's nothing if not efficient.
I mean, maybe you're right that that'll be an arc for next season.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll put the Starfleet Academy, on the sidelines. If I found out that I wasn't allowed at Starfleet Academy, I'd be like, let's
Oh, hell no.
let's take a moment, let's take
a
breather.
I'm gonna cut that big tree down.
I'm gonna cut that big tree down.
I'm gonna pee in the fountain.
Exactly.
I loved, Star Trek has never been above a heavy-handed metaphor, and I loved that one of the tactics of the construct to destroy the Federation and sow chaos is to destroy the universal translation technology. And we always wonder, I guess there's a scene like this in Discovery, but we always wonder, is everybody on the bridge like talking English? Like when you join Starfleet Academy, do you have to just learn English or standard or whatever they call it?
Standard.
And of course, that's not true of our Delta Quadrant people. They all speak different languages, and so they are riven, by these differences. And something that was just really great was just the idea that like Gwen knows all these languages, and it is a skill set that she has. Remember, way back at the beginning, she learned all these languages so she could torture people more effectively. This was a
she admitted that though.
This is
she said, I learned these for evil, but now I will use them for good.
Yeah, and it was a malevolent thing that she, being a good person, was able to turn into something good, and that's like an 18 episode payoff, and it just shows, I think, the great planning and the understanding of what makes a Trek story a story by the guys that wrote the show. I thought that was really great. Also, Dal. Learning to step back and kind of continuing his arc and could have been the guy that says, all right, now let's do it. But he's like, no, I don't have the skills here. So Captain Gwyn, you go ahead and take this. That's a big moment.
Yeah. I feel like that was huge for his character too. Cause I feel like people really disliked him at the beginning because he was so like overconfident. You know what I mean? Just like too sure of himself, cocky. And so, for him to like take the step behind the captain's chair, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a big deal. People like a cocky Star Trek character, right? Everybody loves...
I certainly liked him.
The outrageous O'Connor. Your Tom Paris's... your William Rikers, even, perhaps.
Exactly.
A lot of cool visuals. Obviously, it just has to be kind of a slow-paced battle if all the ships destroy each other immediately. And so... we see with the station, when the station is infected by this weapon, it's not a directed sort of thing. It's more like chaos. And so these ships are sort of like slowly destroying each other by just laser pointering all over the place. And for people who are into that, a lot of like good ship porn in this. We see a lot of ships from shows past show up. Then, of course, after they're like, we did it. Oh, no, we didn't do it. A bunch more ships show up. So there's a problem there, but yeah, it was just it was a large scale confrontation that felt earned, except for the fact that you always wonder, like, how long does it take to fly places? But I guess we don't really worry about that. So a bunch of ships show up, and I also love the fact that it wasn't all the same ship. Like, it wasn't just like, here's a fleet of 300 of the same ship because we had to throw this together. They're like, no, let's have one of these. When that Sovereign class showed up after everything else was done, and then it shows up and you're like, oh, a Sovereign class. Oh no, a Sovereign class. All the windows are red. This is bad. Everybody turn your Wi-Fi off. The virus is spreading.
Turn off the Bluetooth.
Airplane mode. Yeah.
Airplane mode. Computer airplane mode.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, do you feel like, let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Not to be a Debbie Downer. Do you feel like the whole virus thing, it does it remind you of the command thing from Discovery?
Was I don't remember exactly. Was that a concern in Discovery that or Control, right? Control. They had to just kill Control because it would
yeah.
I don't like I said, I guess it kind of does. It also reminds me of the recent resolution of Lower Deck Season 3, which had Federation ships on ship violence, which is just like, first of all, that tells me that that Alex Kurtzman doesn't read all these scripts. because like if you've got
or he does,
or he does, and that's what they want to do.
I think that I mean, there's no way he doesn't. He must.
But if you've got an editor, you're like your editor in chief. He goes, don't do, virus ships. They're doing virus ships over here.
Maybe a virus ship in Discovery, a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Or it just reveals like an aspect of Star Trek storytelling that's going on right now. Here's my theory. I do have a theory. I don't think that we know exactly what our enemy is going to be just yet. It's easy in the 60s where you go, oh, the Romulans or the Chinese or whatever, or the Klingons or the Russians. And, in the 80s, you do that again, but you go, but they love their children too. Now we're like, oh, why are there so many Badmirals? Why is it all about Starfleet intelligence? Why is it about our technology turning on itself? And I think that
deeper.
Yeah, we're looking inward a little more. And I think maybe they're self-consciously going, we don't just want to make, oh, the Russians are back and now they're invading, this other planet that's smaller that they claim is theirs. Like maybe we're trying to stay away from that stuff. And that's fine.
Exactly.
I think that's good.
My follow-up question was going to be like, do exactly that.
I think that's good.
Are we looking deeper into technology?
But I think that like seeing very similar kind of problems and obstacles come up are like the growing pains of them trying to go outside of the box of funny forehead, ears, bad guy type stuff. Did you see, we didn't talk news this week. There wasn't really a lot of news, but did you see the quote from Anson Mount saying that, Strange New World Season 2 is really going to test Trek's morality?
I did.
And I'm like,
what the hell does that mean?
What's that mean? Do I want you to do that? Do I think that you can do that? I think out of all the shows recently, I think that Strange New Worlds for 4, maybe 4.5 of its 10 episodes has been the most willing to do that. I just don't know how well it's come off or how unique it's been from what we've seen before. And everybody loves Trek, and one of the reasons that Strange New Worlds succeeds is because, it's like TOS porn, kind of. This is the second time I've said porn during this
I think it's
stream.
also really good.
It's well executed as well. And so I think that, at least for me, and I think I see this in the fandom, they're like, you got the Orville. Like, I want Star Trek the way it was. You've got the Orville. And Star Trek's like, well, we want to do Star Trek the way it has been because people like that. But is there what's the new thing that Trek can be and evolve into? And they haven't quite found that yet. And so hopefully they'll continue to do stories like the one where they put the kid in the electric chair or whatever. They'll continue to do stories that show the limits of just feeling good about stuff. Oh, we feel good. Oh, everybody's feeling good. Like, where do we go from here? What are the limits of this federation, which stands in for our kind of current progressive worldview? Good. There you go. Go start writing that right now. Get to work on that.
Get the paper. Get the notebook.
Wave that wand and do that right now. Anything else? We're not done. I just don't have any prompts. You done?
I feel like we haven't talked. Did we talk enough about the episode itself? I feel like we always. What's funny is that because I'm with my family. My mom today was like, "How long will the podcast take?" And I was like, it takes about 30 or so minutes. Depends how much time me and Aaron spend clowning about other things.
How many Star Trek figures he's going to get out.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Star Trek, and then we're going to talk about technology. And I was about to make an Elon Musk joke, and then frankly, I decided not to.
Yeah, why bother?
But,
are there, I'm not really like up on merch. Are there Prodigy figures? Because I would love I'd love a Gwen figure and a Rock-Talk figure. And I would like a Dreadnought figure too. And I was thinking about...
Have you played the game?
No. I'm going to do that over Christmas. I actually ended up buying a bunch of games that I didn't think I was going to buy, but I am going to get that one and play it.
I knew I had to buy it.
Yeah.
Like I bought it the day it came out.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, now I'm spending, and Switch game. This is why I've never been like a video gamer, because they're always so expensive. But it came out, and it's like, of course, Star Trek game, need it.
Yeah.
But I've literally never opened it. It has a 2-player version.
Oh yeah.
We did plug my Switch in to the big TV in my grandma's basement.
Whoa.
And I'm looking because my dad is listening to the podcast and on the couch with me. And like, I was thinking that maybe it's time to crack it. It is Christmas. Maybe it's time to crack it open.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to get. I was kind of waiting for a sale, but I was like, I should probably buy it like full price, to show
that's
support.
not going on sale. Yeah, that's not going on sale.
But like one Dreadnought is this is a handful. I can't imagine what would happen if they go to the future and there's like 100 Dreadnoughts. Like they're in a lot of trouble. Sorry, Chakotay. You can just Akuchimoya right
Sorry,
there.
Chakotay.
We're gonna get out of here. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what we need to talk about.
Yeah.
So Picard's supposed to air in February?
February 13th, I think, like the second week in February.
So does that mean that after next week, there's like a month break for the first time in 2 years from Star Trek?
I think so, as far as I can tell.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Do you think, and I was talking to my dad about this today because I was like, something must be airing the week they're going to surprise us. And I was Googling and like, when did Disco stop filming and when is Strange New World supposed to come out? And I was thinking, like, if it weren't for our podcast, I think that I would genuinely, I don't know if I'd be caught up on Star Trek. And I love Star Trek more than, like, anything. Do you feel like they're oversaturating the market?
So they're definitely oversaturating the market. But your question is, do you think it's a bad idea to oversaturate the market? And I don't think we'll know. There's no way for us to know because we don't have viewing figures and they don't really share the viewing figures. But I mean,
hang on, I'll call John Van Sitters.
Yeah, just hit that up real fast. But I mean, like, people talk about it all the time. There's continual engagement. Like, do you think that?
But they've canceled the conventions, right?
Yeah.
So...
Well, that's separate. Dua Lipa, that's somebody, right? Do you think Dua Lipa
is somebody
ever goes like, am I oversaturating? I'm going to disappear for a year. No, she's, always around. She's singing. She's releasing albums. She's posting. She's touring. A TV show is not a singer, but
those are different, like, mediums, right? It's like,
well, literally, but yeah.
No, I mean, like, Dua Lipa, like, as an example, it's like, she drops the album, she drops a single, she has a collab or whatever, and then she's also tweeting and she's also on Instagram, and those are all like different things versus like Star Trek having like 5 shows on at once,
right?
And it being literally year round, once a week, a Star Trek episode,
right? But
and like maybe this is me being like the age that I am, and I literally never watched, except for like The Walking Dead. Maybe I've never watched like a TV show air every week.
Yeah, well, right. But you need to combine your age with your studies and your degree, and realize that engagement is 100% like the goal right now. And whether or not that would have worked in the past, like. Does Cheers need to be on every week? And then you've got all the characters tweeting in character. Sam's like, oh boy, I saw this hot girl or whatever. Like, I don't know. But what we're doing right now in the second decade of the new millennium is we're just going full court press. And so all the shows are going, that you've got somebody's writing a blog in Janeway's voice. You've got Will Wheaton telling you what's going on. It's a constant, you've got the video games coming out. That's what we're doing. Absolutely no human being can take that much, and it will be too much at some point, but I just think this is the way that you engage in the marketplace right now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I also like Phantom Casuals said in the chat, joke about Star Wars versus Star Trek market saturation, which made me laugh because my friends and I have a joke where when we get tired of doing a joke, we'll be like, finish the bit at home.
Yeah.
And that felt like a finish the bit joke. This joke, finish the joke on the stream.
I'll tell you what. As far as the Star Trek versus Star Wars thing goes, Star Wars is a franchise that makes movies for years. Then it makes one or two, made a bunch of shows, but it's made 1 or 2 really good shows. And if there's a million think pieces about it, Star Trek has been a TV show forever, and now it's making shows that are good, but it's almost like we just expect it. And here's what they're missing. They're missing a really good movie for people to go, here's my think piece about movies. So where's Star Trek 4? Where's Star Trek 4? Come on.
Well,
you're letting Star Wars invade your space here.
I also think the thing about the Star Wars shows is like, they'll just, I don't know how they're doing it, frankly, because I was never a Star Wars girly. We know this. I've always been a Star Trek girly. I didn't watch Star Wars until I was like 16 years old. But it's
What'd
like
you think?
they'll just
Any good?
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
They'll drop like 7 episodes, like the Obi-Wan show. I have no emotional attachment or like nostalgia for Obi-Wan Kenobi at all. I watched that show, mind blown, right?
Really? I'm very attached, and I didn't like the show at all. But
oh no,
interesting
okay,
reversal.
maybe it helped me.
Yeah.
But I would love that style for. I mean, I hate to sound ungrateful because really, I'm living the best years of my life. The idea that these new Star Trek shows are airing every week.
Yeah.
We do the podcast every week. Fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, maybe
I'm 25. I'm living my best life, but it's interesting. I was a media major. It's interesting.
Well, I think definitely and remember, what's incredible is, I mean, look, no matter how you feel about the shows, no matter how you feel about the 78 weeks of Star Trek or whatever it's been, it's amazing for a company which has gone through the things that Paramount / Viacom has gone through in the last 2 or 3 years to have put out essentially a show almost every week for the last 3 or 4 years. That's like, stop. That's too
and they're
much.
Good.
And they're all solid. Yeah.
Absolutely stunning work.
Yeah. So maybe like
insane.
Maybe you're right. Make people want it a little more, make them consistently.
I mean, Disney Plus could never the consistent quality and quantity.
Yeah. And they give you a break, and there's like a 6 weeks or a month where there's no show, and then you wait for something else. Yeah, maybe a little less, just to prove to people, no, you're getting something quality, instead of just going constant bangers, just dropping left and right. Pull back a little bit, sandbag us a little bit. That's not a bad theory. But they'll never stop. They'll never ever stop. We'll see. They'll have to stop after Picard. They'll have to come up with an all new show. So
we'll see. But it is funny to think. Today I was like a month, and it felt like I was getting a month off of like work or something. I was like, what am I gonna do on Thursdays? The week is I'm not gonna know what day it is for like those entire 4 weeks. I'm gonna be like, where am I?
Yeah.
What do I do on Thursdays when I'm not here? What did I used to do on Thursdays before this was year round?
I don't even remember. I
don't know either.
We've got in the chat a Worf show. Yeah, hopefully that'll come out of the Picard show. I had an epiphany. I was on my Twitch stream the other day. Every 12 p.m. Central weekdays on twitch.tv right here, just enough trope. I stream video games, and I was playing the video game God of War, and I thought, big burly protagonist, deep gravelly voice, anger issues. Where's the Worf God of War game, God of Worf? And then that took me beyond that. What if Worf found out that the Klingon gods had come back? Remember, they were all killed by the Klingons a long time ago, but they survived. And now Worf, guided by the spirit of Kales, has to go re-kill the gods of the Klingons all over again. God of Worf. There you go. Sitters, I'm ready to talk.
I'm going to DM jump in Sitters right now about that.
Yeah, okay.
I'll make sure that you get 50%.
So all Twitch streams are TM me right here. So just remember that. Anything else to say? We've done a pretty good job covering this episode, I think.
I think we did a great job.
Yeah.
And I think we'll have even more to say next week once, that part 1 of a finale is always like action cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And now next week, I feel like maybe some substance, I guess somebody's father died.
Yeah, they would never again do the famous cliffhanger, obviously, the best of both worlds cliffhanger, where we don't know what's going to happen. And then there is the amazing anticlimax of nothing happened at all. But if we told you nothing would happen, you wouldn't have waited all summer to come back and see it. So we have to end on Mr. Worf fire. Now, of course, we know there's another show coming, so they can go, we did it. Oh, we didn't do it. There's so many more ships. This is terrible. please come back next week. So we will come back next week. But thanks for joining us this week, listeners. If you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPOD for updates and to get notified when new episodes of both this podcast, Discoverage, and our main podcast, Enterprising Individuals, are released. You can tweet to us on the show by using the hashtag Discoverage or email us at EISTPOD@gmail.com. And while you're on the internet, why not head to your listening platform of choice and subscribe to our show feed. Give us a rating and a review because it really helps us out. And if you like the show, tell a friend. Discoverage will return on December 22nd for the 20th episode of the first season of Prodigy. It's also the finale. It's an episode entitled Supernova Part 2, and we'll see you there. We'll be here next Thursday to cover it. We'll be going live once again at 8 p.m. Central, so join us then. Follow us on Twitter or Facebook at EISTPOD to get notified when we are live and broadcasting. In the meantime, why not check out our main show, Enterprising Individuals, which is at enterprisingindividuals.com. Every Wednesday on the show, I and a special guest discuss in excruciating detail a selected movie from the Star Trek franchise, and we have news from the Trek sphere and interviews with special guests. We have our year-end wrap-up show coming soon as well, so check that out. Our most recent episode just dropped. On it, I'm joined by frequent Discoverage guest Gooey Fame for the second half of our discussion about Star Trek Beyond. It's the only Star Trek film we've got for the foreseeable future, so join us as we complete our year of watching Trek films. You can find that show at enterprisingindividuals.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And I have to also shout out the other Star Trek podcast on the network. I'm almost done. It's a show called Backtrekking, where we discuss the origins of your favorite Trek episodes. Our latest episode just dropped, and on it, I'm joined by Mikan Hana of the Sailor Noob podcast, and she's joining me to talk about the Voyager episode concerning flight and the Assassin's Creed video game series, and the one thing that they have in common, Leonardo da Vinci. You can hear that episode at Backtrekking on Twitter or wherever you get your podcasts. Ella, thanks as always for joining me to talk about tonight's episode of Prodigy, and remind people where they can find you online.
As always, my personal accounts are always Gondor Gold. So when Twitter goes down, I'm Gondor Gold everywhere else. Don't steal it because I don't have anything else to my name.
Yes.
And if you're traveling for the holidays, you can listen to some back episodes of my podcast, Generations Geek, which I do with my dad. I've been doing for, I think, over 10 years now that I'm 25. I think we started when I was 24. Do you want to wave? Can you hear me through your earbuds? You can't. There's going to be a lag. There's going to be because he's got his little earbuds in.
He'll come in eventually.
But yeah, eventually he'll be like, oh, wait. Do you want to wave?
In the basement. There he is.
And if we're lucky, we'll record a little update on Generations Geek of my year this year, which was the craziest year of my life, including San Diego Comic-Con for the first time, the big Chicago convention, obviously, all kinds of crazy stuff.
All right. Well, look forward to that. And I'm at KA1IBAN on Twitter, and you can find all of the programs on the Just Enough Trope network at Just Enough Trope on Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe to us and hit the bell icon so you get notified when we go live again. Thanks to everybody in the chat, and that is it for us. Thanks for listening, and we are signing off. This is Aaron for Ella saying, live long and prosper.